Hi, besties. We are starting up our live with Adri. I believe her name is Adri. She is the mother of Richboi's daughter, and she's going to be joining us to clear up some questions. We are going to be heavily moderating the comments. She's new to TikTok. She doesn't do content, so she's a little bit overwhelmed with, the backlash she may receive for finally speaking out. I think a lot of us can relate, just as baby moms or, those of us that have absent parents. So this is a safe space. Let me send you a request, and here she comes soon, hopefully. I think it should be a pretty, it is sub only comments. It's a public live, but sub only comments. Hello, Adri. Let me see. Let me turn on your camera. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? I don't know what's going on with these effects.
Yes, I can see you, but no camera.
Okay, hold on. What the hell? Sorry, y'all. I am not a TikTok.
Give her a second.
What in the hell?
She said, what the hell? There's always some technical startup issues, but no worries. Take your time. Hi, besties. Welcome, welcome. We are just starting up.
Okay, can you see me?
Yes. Hello. Nice to meet you.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
We're tired. We're tired. Just want to
Yeah. So, anyways, my name is Adriana or Adriana. So I know not everybody knew that because of my username.
Welcome, Adriana. So I'm just gonna give you the floor. Share whatever you're comfortable with. There's, we won't pry. I think we all kind of know why we're here, what's been said, what's, in question. And I think that you can just kind of fill in the gaps so we can make peace with everything and close this up.
Okay, so I feel like the first thing is everybody is kind of making this about child support. And so that's what I kind of want to address first is I'm not just, after child support. Like I commented on your post because, he was deported before and I had no idea that I could even file for child support while he was in Mexico. So when you were talking about it, I was like, wow, that's interesting. But that's not, the main thing here. And I don't depend on his money. When he came back, the first thing too that I want to say is, he's the one that kept bringing up, what a good person he is and how he pays his child support and all the things. But when he came back to the U.S., I want to say it was like 2023, and
He got deported in 2017, and his deportation was for.
It was for a lot of things. He did have some criminal charges. I don't want to tell everything, but it wasn't good stuff. And things that got him in trouble. And so, yeah, he got deported. And so I know when he came back illegally. And like I said, I think that was in 2023, 2022, 2023. But he didn't come looking for me or my daughter. He didn't come offering his help. If anything, I really think he was kind of trying to stay hidden. But where we're from is a really small town. And so, word got around quickly. Of course, everybody was letting me know that he was back. And I ended up filing through the Attorney General. It's easy to find out where he was living, where he was working, all the things. And so whenever I filed, he did reach out once he got notified. And he did, I really thought he was going to fight me on it. But he messaged me through Instagram and he said, you know, I hear you're trying to get child support from me. And I said, yeah, I am. I think I'm owed it. And he said, okay, I think that's fair. So he did pay child support. So I want that to be clear. He did pay. He didn't always pay. He was supposed to pay me, I want to say $630 a month because he had a really good paying job. So he did. He started paying it. There was months where he didn't pay it. There was months where he would pay maybe $100. But I didn't. I didn't give him any crap about it. So yeah, on and off since 2023, he's paid a little here and there. You know, I know.
Who's your daughter?
How old is she?
Yeah.
She is 16. And so he probably hasn't seen her since she was turning 8, I think.
And he started paying child support when she was how old?
Well, she was 13, so that's another thing. A lot of these comments, you know, people are like, oh, if he's paying child support, then why did you keep your daughter from him? I didn't keep her from him. At 13 here in Texas, they have a say at that age if they want to, you know, be involved with that parent. Well, my daughter is hurt. She was 8 years old when he got into the trouble he got into. She remembers a lot of it. She remembers what he put me through and put her through. So she's hurt. So of course she didn't want that. And she didn't know him. He was a stranger to her, you know, from 8 to 13. We didn't hear from him and she didn't want that. So that was her choice, but she's always known that I have a way of getting a hold of him if she wants that. So I've never held, you know, I've never kept her from him. That's been her choice. I would never force her to see someone that she wasn't comfortable to be around.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
We were told a story that his daughter was taken from him when she was 8. And in fact, the first interview that I did with him, he just threw that out there on his own that, you know, I've always paid my child support, I always take care of my daughter. And it was a sad story that, like, you know, he just had been alienated from her. So I'd never asked or pried for that. Like, but once because it was put out there, it was part of the idea, like, oh, like this poor dude, like, you know, he's a good guy. He got the shit end of the deal type thing. And I also want to make it clear that this is not about, like, I didn't cut him off because, oh, he doesn't pay child support. So when you commented on my video, he had actually told me that you had commented on one of his videos, like in the very beginning, asking him not to mention your daughter. And he's like, I just blocked her. And I specifically told him, I said, be careful, because once you get traction on here, if you have stuff, like sometimes people can come out and bring it to the internet, right? I said, you might, like, I wasn't really dealing with him like that, so I wasn't going to be like, well, why'd you block her? I just told him, like, just be careful. Then when you dropped the comment on my video, I was just like, I want to be honest, at first I was like, what the fuck? Like, what's this got to do with me? And, you know, I was kind of like, wait. So I sent it to him, and I was like, is this your baby's mom? And he was like, yeah. He goes, you should just block her. And I said, if I block her and this is true, I'm going to hell, you know? No, I was like, why would I block her? Like, I have no, you know? And I said, have you not paid child support? Because eventually we had conversations about child support because he was always adamant that he was paying it. And in the beginning, you know, I told him, well, you should still pay, even if it's $50 a month. Pay what you can, just for the principle that, you know, you're taking care of your daughter. And he was like, well, I don't even know where to send it to. I don't have a way of paying. I don't have a way. I'm excommunicated. Like, he pretty much made it seem like he hadn't seen y'all since she was 8. So I said, damn, that's crazy. Okay. So when you reached out to me and I sent it to him, and we kind of went back and forth on this, and I said, you shouldn't block her. She's obviously trying to get a hold of you. This is not my business. It's uncomfortable. And then I just, you know, I didn't really know what to do. And then he was like, well, just block her. And you're right, it's not your business. And I said, well, are you paying child support? And he goes, well, I don't have a way to. And then he starts sending me screenshots of his receipts. You know, he's like, I'm paying child support. And he had many of them. And I was like, okay, maybe he is paying. Cool, right? And I said, it's not my business. But what got me was he then sends me a screenshot of a payment that he made that day. He's like, you're right. I'm just going to pay what I can. And I said, wait, you told me you didn't know where to, like, you didn't have a way of paying. And he's like, I didn't say that. I was like, yes, you did. And I screenshot the conversation from weeks ago. And I said, you said you didn't know where to pay. And then he's like, well, it shouldn't matter. I paid it. And then this is what got me. He said, I was told to send my deportation papers to the attorney general so that they could stop the child support or at least change the amount because my circumstances have changed. If I'm making pesos, she's getting pesos. And that's not something I did to her. That's what the administration did to her. Verbatim. That's what he said to me. And I was like, what the? I was like, first of all, deportation doesn't stop child support. That's kind of where I got a little bit defensive. And I said, I was like, you're not getting pesos, you're making dollars. At this point, he has shared with me what he has made through these lives. Like, he's making good money. And so to me, it was the way he handled it. It was almost like a here, bitch, shut up type thing. That's the vibe it gave me. And he paid. So I said, you just paid her because I reached out to you to,
Because he was getting a lot of.
He was getting flat. Like, it wasn't genuine. If there was no integrity to it.
Yeah.
He had lied to me. He had told me he had no way of contacting you, no way of paying. And that's when I got bothered. I said, this is some weak ass I told him straight up. And we went back and forth. And then he kind of closed it with, you're right, it's not your business. And I said, I encourage you to unblock her and reach out for the sake of your daughter, or this is going to blow up. And I left it at that. And I wasn't going to say anything. I'm like, this really is not my business. And it was really uncomfortable to be in the middle. But then Victor gets on a couple hours later and makes a 5-minute video. Did you see the video?
I did, which was funny because I usually sleep very good, never have trouble sleeping. Couldn't sleep that night. Opened my phone, happened to get on TikTok, and then see his face, and I was like, keep scrolling. But then I saw the hashtag that said something about baby mama, and then I thought, wow, or him and his, looking for the gossip. So clicked on it, and then I'm like, this is me. He's talking about me.
Very direct. So let me explain the video that Victor made because I commented on it. It was a 5-minute video that was very specific, and I knew immediately that Miguel had shared the interaction that we had, and the argument about child support, and the comments he made about she was begging for child support. He can't stand to see her. She can't stand to see him doing well. If she's so happy, why is she out here getting in his life? Like, very much she's just bitter, right? And so I had a comment on it, and I said, begging for child support? He lost me there. Like, the entire video was ick. And him and I went back and forth a little bit. I took screenshots of all the comments, but I didn't save the video because I was like, I'm not getting involved with this shit. Like, this is messy. But that moment showed me what type of people I was dealing with. Like, that's where I was like, these are not people with integrity. Like, I don't care what the circumstances is. Like, you're raising his child. And asking him to support his child, knowing the back end of this, that he's making good money. He shared with me, and I never asked what he was making. He was overshared a lot of the times, but he was making up to $800 per live.
Wow.
So that to me was like, you're done. And then, so I was like, whatever, not my business. And then the next day, which was yesterday, it was really bothering me. And I decided to use the whole Olga thing to just split, because I'm like, this is going to get messy. I don't want anything to do with it. And I can't co-sign this. Like, I'm a baby's mom. I'm currently dealing with my own child support stuff. So to me, it was just really tone deaf. And I did the live, and I was like, I'm not even going to talk about her or what's going on with the child support. I don't want to make it messy. As soon as I got off the live, Victor goes live. And he starts talking about, give him some slack. He has bills in the US. He hasn't been able to. He's always paid. It's just been a month.
I have bills. I had bills when I was a single mom. I had to figure it out. There was no excuse that, that's just, it's stupid. It's excuses.
It was just all enabling him. And so I actually tried to jump on the live with him, and I said, tap me in, because I know, like, if you're going to talk about what I just said, well, fine, let's do it. He wouldn't respond, so I went live, and that's where I just kind of crashed out, because me knowing how much money he's making, for you to tell me that he hasn't had 300, whatever it is. He's had it and some.
Yeah.
And we've all seen it. It's not rocket science to know that he's doing well, and he had the softest landing in deportation history with between the lives and the GoFundMe's and all the financial support that's came out of other mothers. So imagine me, also a single mom. This contradicts everything that I advocate for. So I'm pissed, right? And so I am so sorry that it became such a mess because, but I wanted people to understand how I ended up in the child support topic and that it wasn't entirely about child support.
Yeah.
The lack of integrity, it's the condescending, it's the taking advantage. And now like more stuff just keeps coming out. There's criminal records, and it's not that there's a past, like we all have one, but it's the misrepresentation. And I think you kind of embodied some of that when you reached out to me and you said, I've had a hard time. I mean, and I'll let you kind of speak on this yourself and what it was like to kind of watch him blow up, knowing the actual facts of it.
Well, and I know you commented about this, like saying you wish I would have reached out to you sooner. And I actually did. I typed out a message and then I deleted it because I thought she's going to just think what everybody else is thinking, that I'm just a bitter baby mama who doesn't want to see him doing well. And really, I was trying to warn you, like, this isn't someone who needs help. He's not telling the full story. Um, Him and his family, I'll just say they're not good people. His mom is not a good person. A lot of those months that he wasn't paying me, he was probably giving it to his mother. She also has criminal record. So I wanted to warn you, but
Yeah.
I just sat back quietly and waited because I knew eventually it would come out.
But I think I also understand that part too, because he had so much support that it would be intimidating to me as well to come out and be like, hold on, right? Because that is what men always do. We're just bitter. We're bitter. We want to make their life hard because she's begging me for child support and this and that. Like, I've lived it. All the moms in here that can relate to this, we know what it is. So when I saw your comment, I immediately like identified with it, and I said, I'm not blocking her. Like,
Yeah.
I am. There's no way I'm siding with, and I'm biased 100%. But once more started coming out, that I was like, "Ugh, I can't believe, I can't believe
Yeah.
we ended up here. And even right now with the way that he's handling things, I honestly, it gives me flashbacks to my own baby dad. The way he's gaslighting, the way he's like projecting this into she just wanted me and blah, 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 all the stupid shit, but won't take zero accountability for anything.
Yeah,
And
and like I said, I was blocked, but that doesn't stop word from getting to me on what he's saying on his lives and what his brother's saying. Um, the one thing that really got me too was him saying my daughter was taken from me. She wasn't taken from him. He got himself in trouble, and his actions led to his deportation. So nobody took her from him. That was his own fault.
yeah, that we were told that you just pretty much alienated her from
No,
him.
even when he was deported the first time, we kept in touch. I couldn't help but have a little sympathy for him. I was worried for him. We weren't together at that point, but I mean, I had been with him for 15 years. We were 15 years old when we got together. I was about to turn 30 when he got deported. So yeah, I mean, I kept in touch with him just to make sure he was doing okay. He's still the father of my child, and she was going through it. She was missing her dad. So I kept in touch. He had my phone number. One thing too, with him saying like he didn't know how to get a hold of me or whatever. My parents, like I said, we live in a small town. He knows where my mom lives. He knows her address. He knows her phone number. His mom knows my mom. His family knows, they live down the street from my mom. So there's always been a way to get a hold of me. So that's the whole thing too, is like this whole sympathy, pity party to get money from people, I guess, or just to get the views or whatever it is. But you know, and I never wanted to comment on anything. I never wanted to get involved with any of it. But, you know, when he did, the only reason I even said anything was, like I said, when he talked about my daughter and he was talking about, he gave out her full name. He said, you know, she was 17, which she's not, she's 16. She saw that and she was embarrassed. And she's like, Mom, he gave out my name. He said I was 17. I'm not 17, I'm 16. She was like, how embarrassing. She was embarrassed. So, you know, as a mom, I was pissed. I was like, he can give this whole pity story to everybody he wants, but he needs to leave her out of it.
So your daughter has been watching his content.
She's seen it. She usually watches from like my phone or a friend's phone because she also doesn't want him to follow her. She doesn't want his family to follow her. You know, TikTok's a big thing for these young kids. And so she was kind of freaked out by it. And that's when I finally said something. And I said, and I just commented, and I didn't, all I said was, you know, please don't talk about my daughter. And he deleted that comment. So then, you know, of course, I got a little pissed off and I was like, and also she's 16, not 17, deletes that comment. Then he blocks me and I'm like, well, I'm going to get your attention one way or another. Like, you're going to acknowledge that at least and tell me you're not going to bring her up without our permission. And so I did, you know, respond to some people's comments and put some stuff out there that he probably didn't appreciate, but I was pissed. I was pissed at that point.
I remember when I actually mentioned something to him about that too. Because in his first video too that he made that went viral, he gave his full name. And I just said, be careful about like the information that you share on here because the internet's a crazy place. But yeah, to share your daughter's full legal name is diabolical. Yeah. And I chalk that up to like, he's new to this. He doesn't understand the capacity that this has, but I wasn't even thinking about your daughter seeing it. I was just thinking like the safety of it because people are crazy. They're going to go look her up. I'm sure, especially with all this shit blowing up, you know, the last thing you want is for your daughter to be in the crossfire. So I want to say about some of that. He was just kind of ignorant and learning to maneuver TikTok. But I totally get where you're coming from because I would have done the same thing. And so he did tell me that he blocked you. And I just said, well, just be careful. And then yesterday or whenever it was that we talked about it, I encouraged him to unblock you and call you. I said, because this is going to spill out. You know, obviously she's trying to get your attention if she's coming to me. And if I block her, she may make a video at some point and that shit's going to go viral. Yeah. So if you push this, like you have the control to get this under control by unblocking her and talking to her.
Oh, and everybody was trying to push me to make a video and all the things. I mean, but I don't care that much. I mean, yes, I was mad. Yes, I wanted to get his attention. Yes, I wanted you guys, everybody, to know that I felt like he was scamming people. He was using this pity story over false information. And so that was the only reason. But, you know, when we heard he was deported, I was like, damn, that sucks. I minded my own business, didn't, you know, I was like, well, whatever, you know.
When I had the conversation about, after you reached out, he told me that you had, because you were happy that he got deported, that he got mad and it's why he hadn't paid child support yet.
I'm not happy that he got deported. I don't care enough to, like, you know, I am healed from those years that I was, you know, I've moved on. I'm happily married. I have my daughter. I have a stepdaughter. Like, I have my family. I don't care enough, but I wasn't happy the first time. I was worried for my daughter. Like, is she ever going to see her dad again? Because at that point she was sad. She wanted to see her dad. She was FaceTiming him every now and then and trying to keep that relationship with him. And then this time around, like I said, I heard about it and I was just like, damn, that sucks. I mean, because honestly, and I will say, I have heard good things about him. Like, you know, before, you know, everybody's like, oh, he's on drugs, he's doing this, he got arrested. But this time around when he came back, I think he really was trying to do things right this time. Besides, I mean, like I said, he didn't fight me on the child support. He paid it every now and then. But I think he was trying to do better. So I still, not that I felt bad, but I wasn't happy for him. You know, I wasn't happy that he got deported. That's not me at all.
Yeah, I didn't press for more, but even that kind of made me upset because I'm like, well, what does that have to do with your kid? Yeah. And making sure that she's taken care of. And then that's when he sent the screenshot that, okay, you're right. I want her to get the money. And so I'm going to pay what I can. And he made a $300 payment. But I was like, that was done not with integrity. And like, that was it for me. That was what made me check out. It had nothing to do with your guys' history or if you're good. It was that interaction I had with him about the child support that I was like, this is not like, I'm sorry, like our values are not the same. There's no integrity here. I don't see a father that prioritizes his child. I see a father that had the means, the way to pay, and you lied to me. I specifically asked, and there were direct lies made to me. And he was like, I don't remember saying that. And so I screenshot it and sent it to him. And he was like, well, it doesn't matter. I paid it, which is what matters. And I was like, this shit matters to me because if I had known this, I wouldn't have lent my hand as a single mother with my own issues with absent dads and child support and shit like that. Because imagine how it feels to be a single mother supporting an irresponsible father. I'm not going to call him a deadbeat because it doesn't seem like that's entirely the case here, right? Like, give credit where credit is due. He made payments, and it seems like he was trying to better himself. And we all have a past, so it's just crazy to me that the need to lie, and I don't get it, especially because I don't see animosity on this side. I don't see you bitter or trying to ruin him or any of that. I really just see a mom with valid feelings about, some of this stuff. And as somebody that was looking in, I can't imagine what it must feel like to see him getting all the support and your daughter's on the back burner.
Yeah.
And I understand that deportation is a transition, but for somebody that had the amount of funds, support, access, there's just no excuse for why, because we all have bills, like you said. Why is it that the first thing you put on the back burner was your daughter, during your transition? I'm just, that doesn't make sense to me.
Well, he was also like bitter with her because, like I said, she was like 8 years old when he first got deported, and we would FaceTime him every now and then. He would send letters. It got to where it was less and less, and that wasn't her fault. That wasn't my fault. It wasn't up to me to keep that relationship going. When they would talk, she kind of was starting to feel like she didn't know what to talk to him about anymore. He was becoming kind of a stranger to her. So he started getting mad, like, why doesn't she want to talk to me? Why does she ignore my phone calls? Why, when I call, she says, Dad, I'm busy, I'll call you later, and never calls. I'm like, that is not my problem. That is your problem. So they lost that communication, but he wrote her a goodbye letter, like at 8 years old, like, I will leave you alone. I will never talk to you again. I will leave you and your mom alone. Yeah. And I was hurt for her as her mom. So I let it go. I left him alone. He left us alone. And I really thought I'd never see him again. And I haven't, not face to face, but, for him to for people to start contacting me and be like, hey, your baby daddy's back in town. I was like, what? How the hell did he get back? But like I said, I wasn't mad that he was back. I didn't have any feelings. I just thought, I hope he stays away, because I did bring it up to my daughter, and she was 13 at the time, and I said, your dad's back. And she was like, oh, crap. Like, she was even kind of scared. Like, what if he sees me? What happens if he sees me? And I'm like, that's completely up to you. Like, you can see him if you want to see him. If you don't want to see him, you don't have to. But he never reached out. He never looked for her. I really think if I wouldn't have reached out to the Attorney General, it's not like he would have offered to pay child support and come looking for her. I think he was kind of staying hidden too, because he was worried, maybe, like, we did have a toxic relationship towards the end, way back then. So I think he thought, I'm going to stay away from her so she doesn't cause me any trouble. But by then I didn't care. I had peace in my life. I didn't want trouble from him. And all I wanted was like, hey, you're entitled to pay this child support. Because those years that he was gone, I paid for braces. I paid for back to school stuff. I paid for our home. I paid for everything. So am I entitled to it? Yeah, I'm entitled to it, but I don't think he would have ever volunteered. Like, he acts like he's such a good guy that just, oh, I pay my child support and my daughter was taken away from me. Like, no, that wasn't the story. The story was, I came and found you, and you're paying just because you're scared that I'm going to cause some shit in your life, I guess.
Yeah, that's a very different storyline. And again, we didn't even need to know any of that. That was something that even the brother in the intro video, he's a good guy. He pays his child support. Like
Yeah,
that,
they kept bringing it up.
they kept emphasizing it over and over.
Yes.
So we were like, damn, right? Like we would have never, that honestly is not something I would have fielded for. Like, so do you pay your child support? No, right?
Yeah.
But because it was a topic that was constantly brought up, I was like, oh, okay. Well, eventually I did ask questions. And because he paid, and I was like, okay, well, are you still gonna, I don't remember how I brought it up, but I mentioned you just make sure you're still on your shit, and even if you don't have a lot, and this was in the beginning before he started sharing what he was making. I said, send her at least $50 a month. Just send something.
Yeah.
25. Just the principle that although you're here and maybe you are gonna make less money, you're still taking care of her, and and he was like, well, I don't know where, I don't have anywhere to send it to. I don't have any contact. Like she's X'd me out of their life pretty much. And I was like, damn, well, I don't
He
say.
also has my Cash App. There's lots of ways. It's just excuse after excuse. So
Yeah, that's what we're seeing now with this small example of Olga, right? Where everything, well, I had to do this and I had to do that and over here, and no accountability, no, just like, you know what? I'm sorry. I should have done this. Nada. Just like, well, come on. Like, I'm still getting settled, and like, I had to do this and edit this video, and like, it's textbook bullshit, just excuses. Like, when there's a will, there's a way. And I noticed, it took me a minute, but he's very much just a taker and a taker and a taker and a taker and a taker, that I just was burnt out by the time that I was trying to find a way to like not leave off on like weird terms, and you can still come to me, we're so cool, we can kick it. But I was also really frustrated and just spent like emotionally exhausted, because he was so entitled and just expected everything. Like, no empathy to my motherhood at all. Ever. Yeah. Not like on Mother's Day, he hit me up for me to go drop off some shit that he left in my trunk. And it was just like, I mean, I guess, but little moments like that where I saw just no empathy or consideration and for anybody except for himself. Very selfish. And granted, he is in a state of survival mode, right? He just got deported. But he has so much support and resources that it's hard for me to give him that pass, because there's people that have it worse and don't fuck everybody off. Me included. I got here with $40 and I didn't just ghost my kids because it's hard right now. So I don't know. His story it is really disappointing. It has been so heartbreaking to me to see how this played out. And the lack of accountability, the manipulation, the playing on the poor me pity strings, it gives me flashbacks to my own baby daddy. And I don't even fuck with the kid like that. Like, we were just friends.
Even with like the information you gave me about, getting child support from the other parent when they're in a different country, like I probably won't do anything with it. Like, I'm just gonna wait, and if he wants to make payments, he can. If he doesn't, then I can't force him to. I'm not going to force him to. You should want to, if you love your daughter as much as you say you do, as much as you're, talking about it on your lives and acting like I was the worst parent that took her away from you, then you should want to pay it. So, and like I said, I'm not begging for it. I'm not hurting for it. I do well. My husband has a great job. My kids are doing fine. So, but the point of all this was just for all you guys to know that the true story. Like, he was leaving a lot of information out. He wasn't this stand-up citizen that just got deported for no reason. So that was what was bothering me, was sitting back, watching it all happen. Like, nobody even knows. Me and my family are sitting here like laughing and like looking at each other like just like mind blown. Like, I can't believe this has turned into this and nobody knows the truth. And I know his brother's pissed, and that's the reason he's messaged me. He's messaged some mean shit to me.
What is Victor's role in this? I don't understand why he's so involved in the videos that he's made, and like.
Well, I think he does feel like his brother is making progress on being a better person, and he thinks I'm like, from his own words, was me putting in my 2 cents And I'm like, me putting in my 2 cents, I'm not what, I don't know. He's very defensive, but he has sent me messages. He made that video. Even with Victor, which it surprises me because he was the only, there's three of them. Miguel's the oldest, then there's their middle brother, and then there's Victor. He's the youngest. And I was actually always really close to Victor. He was the only one that kind of had my back when I was going through all this drama with him in the first place when we were still together. He was the one, like, even after he was deported the first time, like, Victor was a good uncle. Him and his wife, I never had issues with them. Um, he bought her a few Christmas gifts, those first few years that her dad was deported. He would check in on her. And then it just kind of dwindled away too. And I don't know, I feel like he blames me for it because in one of his messages, he did say, like, you keeping her away from us is low and it's gonna bite you in the ass and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I never kept her from you, never from him. I invited him to my home. I let them bring her gifts. If they called and asked about her, I would, let them talk to her. I would give them updates on her. It wasn't up to me to keep that relationship going. And she also was just like, Mom, it's just weird. She was like, as she was getting older, it's just weird, Mom. I don't know what to talk to him about. He wants to talk about my dad. I don't want to talk about my dad. And so it wasn't up to me, but I never had an issue with Victor. That was his own fault to completely disappear from her life. Did I take her away from Miguel? No, I didn't. That was also his own fault. Did I take her away from the other brother? No. That one never reached out. He never reached out. He never checked on us. He's going through his own shit right now. I hear nothing but bad things about him. And then his mother, I did take her away from his mother because she was worse than any of them. She was making broken promises to her. She was, she was doing a lot. That's a whole nother story, but she was doing a lot of things that were not okay, and she was not good. She was not a good grandparent. And so I did take her away from the mother, and I will admit that. But anybody else in that family, I did not take my daughter away from. I did not keep her from them. That was all their own fault.
Well, I could tell right away. The mom is they enable him like wholeheartedly.
Oh,
I
yeah.
realized immediately, and even the mom the other day, yesterday, she was like, "You're just doing this for your benefit," and I was just like, "Oh, you're one of those. You're one of those." I get it now. I understand some of the dynamics in the family of why he is the way that he is, and then the video that Victor made where he was like saying that you poison your daughter against Miguel, and I think that that Miguel also just kind of plays the victim to his family. And so naturally they're going to rally around him because that's they're related. So I think I can understand why Victor does what he does, but I just feel like it's so weird, the dynamics where he's the one constant, because he was the one that made the first video, that took off. And now he's the one publicly responding because Miguel, I believe, still wants to try to protect his image. And so he can't get up here and say it. So Victor's going to get on here and say it. That was the vibe that I got from his video when I saw it. I was like, oh, okay. So Miguel's pissed off and he's going to keep playing this perfect little, proper bullshit. And he's going to let the brother do the dirty work. That is what it gave me. And I was like, just gives me ick.
Yeah,
Ick.
that's how I see it too, because I have yet to hear anything bad about me personally come out of Miguel's mouth, but Victor has, he don't even care. He's just, I've done nothing to him. I don't know why he has such strong opinions on me. And my daughter, we don't talk bad about her dad. We don't talk about it. My daughter's very like, when it comes to her dad, she doesn't want to talk about it. Like she just rather change the subject. Like my mom tries to bring it up to her every now and then, and she will cut it right off. Like she's like, I don't want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about him. But she knows if she's ever ready to talk to him, I can get a hold of him. I know I can get a hold of his mom. We could show up at her front door if I wanted to, and she knows that. She's probably watching. She knows.
Somebody commented and asked, why did his mom keep commenting that she was at fault for his deportation?
That I was?
Yeah.
So when he got deported, we weren't together anymore. I had moved into my own house because he was doing drugs, okay? He was really bad on drugs. When I found them in my home and my daughter found them in the home and he got mad at her for drugs that she found that he put in her room to hide, I was like, we're done. So we moved into our own house. I tried to help him. Like, honestly, his mother didn't try to help him when he was really strung out. His other brother didn't try to help him. Victor tried, but Victor had his own, wife and children, so he didn't do much. Um, when things, finally hit the fan for him, it's when he got locked up. And he got locked up in a different state because he was on his way to work somewhere. I can't even remember the state that it was, to be honest. But he got pulled over. I don't really know the whole story, and even the details that I do know about that, I don't even want to give all that because I just don't. But I remember him calling me, his lawyer calling me, his mother calling me, his brothers calling me. I remember his lawyer calling me and saying, the only chance, because he was still at this point, we were never legally married, but of course he was telling everybody I was his wife. So he was telling his lawyer to call my wife, call my wife. So his lawyer calls me and he tells me the only chance he has of not getting deported is if he is married. And he wants to know if you'll marry him, because if not, then he may be deported and never see his daughter again. And I was like, no, no, I'm not. I'm not going to do that. Like, I choose my daughter because I felt like if I did that, he would continue the life that he was already living, and nothing was going to get better. So I was like, I just want to be out of this. Like, I'm sorry for you. I feel bad for you, but like, this is not my fault. This is all your fault. His mom called me, I don't know how many times. She begged me to marry him. She offered to pay me to marry him. I was like, no, go take that money and offer it to anybody else, but it's not going to be me. It's not going to be me. So if they feel like it was my fault, that's the only thing I can think of. It's not like I called ICE on him. It's not like I didn't do anything. I was trying to separate myself from a drug addict and focus on my daughter. And so if that's the only thing I can think of why they would say it was my fault the first time around.
That's crazy. To you, I don't. Yeah, well, you obviously you made the right choice.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think he would have got clean if he would have stayed here. I mean, there was times where he, got locked up in, like, I remember one time he got locked up in the small town that we live in, and I was kind of glad about it because he had been really bad on drugs. I mean, there was times where we didn't know where he was for weeks. We didn't know if he was alive. We didn't know if he was eating. We didn't know if he was had a roof over his head. And, I stayed in contact with his brother and his mom at that time. And I remember her calling me saying he got locked up for whatever reason at that time. And I remember telling her, this is good for him. Like, leave him there. Like, at least, he's safe. At least, he's not using. At least he has food. They're feeding him. He has no access to any drugs. Like, leave him there. And she was pissed. She was pissed at me for saying that. Like, how could you? How could you just leave him in there? I'm like, this is good for him. Not even a day later, she had talked one of her other family members into going and bailing him out. And sure enough, not even a day after that, he was gone and nobody could find him after that. So that's the kind of life and shit I was dealing with at that time. And that's why I separated myself. I chose my daughter over that lifestyle.
I think a lot of us can relate to being in a relationship with somebody that suffers from substance abuse, and it's toxic, and especially when the family is part of, they enable him.
Yeah.
So I mean, props to you, because it's not easy to get out of a relationship like that, especially when there's so much longevity, there's kids involved. And so, I mean, you should be proud of that. And it's unfortunate that it's still, you're still going to be connected to him. That's the father of your daughter.
Yeah.
But I definitely get very, like, I don't, and I'm sure he's not happy about this. I'm sure they're not happy about this, but I don't see any type of like animosity on your end of like trying to make his life hard. I see a lot of empathy from you. I feel like you still have a level of care for him as a father of your daughter. And
I think I have the level of care for him just as a human. Like, I don't really even consider him my daughter's dad. I mean, I don't. He hasn't been there. She doesn't know him. If we could, my husband would adopt her, but he'd have to like sign over his rights, and I don't know if he would do that or not. But it's just more about just being a human. I'm not a bad person. I don't have bad intentions to anybody, not even his mom, who I can't stand. I don't wish any bad will on her.
yeah. Do you want to see if you want to answer any questions of people that may be watching or on your end? If there's any questions.
Let me take a look without screwing up here. I know someone had said something about me mentioning his drug use. I'm not saying he still uses drugs. I really do think that he has done better from like, I mean, I'm telling you, before people, you knew when he was using. I mean, people would be like, we saw him, he's really skinny, he looked horrible, he looked high out of his mind. And then, from this last time that he came back, people were like, he seems to be doing good. He looks healthy. He's got a job. He, bought a vehicle. He's doing good. So yeah, I don't mean to like throw that out there, but it is part of the story. So I'm not trying to talk shit on him and say he's still using. I don't know. I don't know his life now. I don't know what he's been up to. I do hear good things, so I'm not bashing him on that or trying to say he's still a drug addict or anything like that.
Yeah, no, that's part of your story too,
Yeah.
unfortunately, the things that you lived, and I think you have a right to speak on them. The time that I've spent with him here, I don't believe he is using substances.
Oh, you'd be able to tell the drug he was on. You would been able to tell.
And
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think the first time getting deported was actually a good thing for him. I mean, I told you privately, but I'll say it on here. He did, message me like, I want to say it was like maybe a year after his deportation, and he told me, he basically thanked me and said that I saved his life by not marrying him or trying to keep him in the US, because he knew if he stayed and continued the life he was living, he would either be in prison, he'd be dead. So he knew. And so I wish and I may have that message somewhere, not that I'm gonna, throw it out there, but I have that message somewhere where he did thank me, and I do think it was good for him. It got him off of, or he was in a different place. He didn't know how to get a hold of any of that, and he was able to get himself clean and probably take a look at his life and decide from there on, like, do I keep doing this or do I make myself better? And from the people I've talked to and just from what him and his brother have shared, it seems like he was doing good. But
I think deportation a lot of times can be redirection, and it can be a really positive thing for people like Miguel, or even for me. I don't have a history with substance abuse, but I have a similar story where I feel like deportation um, jolted me out of an environment that I would have never thrived in. And I think he has the potential to do really well out here if he would just, he has to shift some of those, where what he's doing right now is not the way. Um, those behaviors, the mentality, it can land you in some serious shit out here. And I don't think he sees the bigger picture, or even his brother, because this is stuff out here that can get you into some, that mentality of coming up on people and being dishonest. Like, we're in a different world. And so I hope that this can be a redirection for him. And this was never meant to be an expose him, or like, let's post screenshots and I'm going to show this. Like, I hope that it ends here. I think everybody knows what they need to know to make their decisions. And I know that people will still support him, but now they can support him with facts and make decisions based on that, not the pretense that we were fed that is not real by both him and his brother.
And even when he came back this last time, we were communicating through Instagram because he didn't have my phone number. I didn't have his phone number. Um, and I was very civil and we had pleasant conversations. I told him, he would ask, is she ready to talk to me? And I would ask her, and she's like, no, Mama, I'm not ready. I don't want to talk about it. And he'd be like, well, what does she want for her birthday? And so for a little while, he was like, sending money through Cash App or like extra child support to like let her buy what she wants to get for her birthday, let her buy what she wants to get for Christmas. And then that turned into well, I'm not going to do it unless she talks to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like it turned into like, what do you call it? Just like for example, for Christmas, he was like, I'm gonna get her this. She wanted a makeup vanity for Christmas. Okay, and I even was like, I'll go half on it with you. I don't mind going half on it. It's a big purchase that she's asking for, and he was like, no, I can do it. I can do it. And then, like a week or two leading up to Christmas, I'm like, did you get it? Because he didn't know where I lived, and so I'm like, are you gonna like Cash App? Do you want to go half on it? Are you having trouble like coming up with the money because I can help and we can get it for her since he already had promised it to her? And last minute he's like, no, I'm not gonna get it for her. She don't want to talk to me. I don't want to get it for her. And after that, that's when I was like, okay, I'm done being pleasant to you because you're not gonna buy her love. You're not gonna buy her, promise her all these things, and then she's not asking for much. You came to her asking, what does she want? And she told you, and now you're holding it against her because she doesn't want to have a conversation with you. Or so that was our last conversation. So, and that was probably not this past Christmas, but the Christmas before. I just completely cut him off. I was like, I tried to be polite. I even sent him updated pictures of her. Like, you probably, you probably want to see what she looks like. It's been however many years, and I tried to be real civil with him, but when he did that to her, I was like, we're done. Not gonna do it.
Yeah. I think it sounds like he blames him and his brother blame you for the relationship that he doesn't have with his daughter. And there's no accountability for the choices that he made that turned it into, the absence, the substance abuse, all of that. I'm sure your daughter carries trauma for that.
Yeah, she still she doesn't like to talk about it. She probably never will. I don't know. She bottles it all in, which sometimes it worries me, but she's happy. She's a happy girl. She's thriving. She has everything she needs, but I mean, somewhere in there, I have my dad, so I wouldn't know, but I've got to believe somewhere in there she probably still hurts because of that.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's really sad. I mean, it all makes more sense now with what you're sharing. I don't, especially as they get older and they start to kind of understand more, absorb more of what's going on, and they develop their own feelings of, resentment or whatever it may be. And it's always it's easier to blame us than for them to take accountability that they created the situation and that, they didn't take care of the bond, and now it's not there. And you're 100%, it's not your responsibility to take care of that bond, to feed that bond, to make sure that bond exists. That was his. And so he can't be mad at anybody but himself. And he has a pattern. There's no accountability in anything that he does. Everybody else, or excuses for, and that is really like, I think that's part of the mentality when you are using substances. It's everybody else except for you.
Oh, yeah. I'm reading some of these comments, but I appreciate everybody, all the nice things everybody's saying. I was really nervous. I mean, I was overwhelmed. I had anxiety all day at work. I was nervous. Somebody asked how long he was deported the first time. It was from 2017 to 2023 is what I think.
He was in Mexico for a few years.
He was, and I didn't even know where he was. I didn't know what town he was in. Like I said, I did keep in touch with him. I know he told me at the time, but I can't even remember where it was. And I remember his mom's boyfriend at the time had family there that he didn't even know, and I think that's who took him in. So he was lucky that he had somebody to take him in, because I did have sympathy. I mean, for anybody who was raised in the U.S. and to get sent to a country that you know nothing about all by yourself. I mean, I felt bad for the guy. I was like, man. But he was there for a few years.
I don't know why that just clicked that he probably didn't need a lot of the help, like how to get his license and shit. Because
yeah, that's what I'm like. What did you do that whole time you were there? I mean, I can remember him saying he was like a model there. I don't know if that was true. I can't really remember. I think one time he was a barber. I mean, he did all kinds of stuff, but like I said, we didn't talk the whole time he was there. It probably didn't even last a year. After I knew he was doing okay and things with him and my daughter were kind of, the flame was burning out, I was just like, all right, you're good. I'm good.
I'm so sorry, but a model? Like,
Yeah, yeah, a model.
that's interesting.
Mhm.
Somebody asked if his brother is actually a Trump supporter. Do you know anything on that?
No, I don't. I don't think me and Victor are even friends on any kind of social media. Um, I don't have anything against his wife either, but we're not friends because there was a year that she reached out to me and tried to make me feel bad and have my daughter message Miguel for his birthday. She said he had been feeling really down and he would just feel so much better if she reached out to him. And that really pissed me off because I was like, girl, do you know how many years my baby wanted her dad to reach out to her for her birthday and he didn't? I was like, don't ask shit like that until you are in my shoes and you've gone through what I've gone through and you've seen your kid hurt the way I have. Do not ask that kind of shit. So I did cut her out as well. And I still don't have nothing against her, but that did piss me off. And they probably put her up to it, but still the fact that she actually asked me that, it just rubbed me the wrong way and I was like, no. So I don't really know anything about them. I don't know who they support, who they don't support. I don't put my political views out there because I work with the public and I don't want anybody judging me on my political views. We just don't talk about any of that.
I think when people do that, like try to make the child responsible to make the parent feel better.
Yeah.
Like, and that's so selfish because, oh, like he's going through a hard time. Like, let's use the child to cheer him up.
No, that pissed me off.
Yeah, and then the rest of the time is what? When the child is sad, who makes her feel better? The mom. The
Yeah.
mom, right? And then the dad just gets to go on like that. Yeah, that would have triggered me too.
I mean, and even just like, every year that her birthday passed, people would be like, I didn't see them, say a happy birthday to her or anything, which, I was kind of like, I don't know if I should even expect it if she's not in their life. But if it was the other way around, I just feel like me and my family would still be trying to get a hold of her and let her know that we're wishing her a happy birthday or a Merry Christmas or whatever. And they just completely never ask about her, never anything. So, I didn't take her away from them. They separated themselves from her.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. Do you have any other questions on your end that stick out to you or that you may want to answer?
No, I really just wanted to get that out there about the child support. Um, I just wanted people to know I'm not dependent on it. What I was doing with the child support was, like I said, my daughter's 16. She is getting her license. I've been putting some money in a savings account. I would give it to her as like spending money. She's a teenager. She wants to go out with her friends. She wants to buy lunch every day. She wants to go shopping. So that's what that money was for. It's not like that money was coming to pay my car, to pay my vacations, and then also too, just everybody that's like, oh, he's doing so good and she can't stand to see it. I'm doing good too. I'm not jealous. There's nothing to be jealous about. The poor guy is deported away from his family. Why am I, what about that makes me jealous? I'm here with my family. I have my daughter. So no, there's no jealousy. Honestly, I feel like he needs to get comfortable and just stay there and like build his life and move on. I mean, he's tried to come back already and it didn't work out and it sucks. I really, at the same time, I kind of blame his mom because apparently she got all her paperwork in order, but she didn't get her child's paperwork in order. That's crazy to me to just let your kid get deported. And why is she not there with him? If it was my kid, I'd be right there with them. She has nothing holding her back. Her other boys are grown and doing their own thing. I just think as a mom, my first priority would be getting my kids' papers in order rather than herself.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, it sounds like he had some type of status, some type of visa, I think, is what Victor had said, right? That he had something.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, he was working. From what I've heard, he did have a driver's license. They tried to tell me that they had got a lawyer and all the charges he's ever had on him were dropped. But I'm like, how? There was so many. Like, how much money did you guys have or have to come up with to get all those charges
So
dropped? There's
many.
no way. There's no way.
Well, it all makes sense now because with the new administration, even if they were dismissed, they don't care. Like, if you have any type of arrest record, any type of like, it makes all the sense why they revoked him and like that. You know, they're not playing around about that stuff. There's people that just for being accused of a crime are being deported. There's people without crimes being deported. So if you have any type of history, and it sounds like he has a pretty long one, and we don't need to go into the details of that,
Right.
that's why he got deported. And, you know, the internet didn't know that. And I don't think that the response to his story would have been the same if there was even just some transparency that, yeah, he didn't have to share the details, but, you know, he made it seem like I just went to check in. I had all my paperwork in order. And because of Trump, like they deported me. They deported you because you have criminal convictions. And that makes a huge difference on the empathy. I mean, if you go look at the comments in his viral video and his brothers, you know, they're all like so apologetic and I'm so sorry this happened to you and like this isn't right. And like, granted, I would still have sympathy myself. I don't think anybody deserves to be deported. Just that's my personal opinion. But it makes a big difference on how the world perceives this case and how other immigrants that are currently going through it are perceiving it. And his entire story has been unrealistic from how and why he got deported to, you know, how he's living out here now because of the donations and the platforms and how this community just kind of rallied around him, you know, as a victim to the new Trump administration. And that wasn't the case, unfortunately. And this is coming from somebody that was also deported by the first Trump administration for criminal convictions. You know, I still feel a type of way and I don't agree with it. I have my own political views and human rights and shit like that. But as somebody that has had to take the backlash for years to be able to share my story transparently, for people like him to come and just take the benefit without the accountability, and like that really hit me. That really hits me different because like I have a lot of support, but I've taken a lot of waves of hate because I've always shared like this is what I did. Like it sucks, but it is what it is. So imagine building this entire sympathy and poor me when there's reasons for why this happened to you. There has to be some type of accountability. Is the what happened fair? I don't think so personally. But you think if people had the full facts, they would have ran to rally around him that way? I know I wouldn't entirely feel like, okay, well, you know, you gotta. I probably would have been a little bit harder on him, to be honest,
Yeah.
to be frank, because I did feel sorry for him.
Yeah, and then he can ruin it for the next person. You know, it's just like there's people that are really getting deported for no good reason. And those people probably do need help, especially if they've been here their whole life. And then just to, you know, like what happened to him the first time. He came here as a baby and then to get deported to a whole new country, like that's probably a really scary thing. And for him to just like come around this time and act like, or just take advantage of the help and take advantage of everything that everybody was doing without telling the full story, kind of makes people, and maybe even you, it kind of makes people be like, damn, maybe I don't want to help anybody. These people are all liars. They're scammers.
It made me. I've had so many moments in the last few days where I'm like, fuck this shit. Like
Yeah.
this is not worth it. This is not worth it. This has been so emotionally exhausting. The anxiety, like all this stuff on TikTok right now, like this wasn't right. Got nothing out of this. You know, I already have my own shit. I make content. I monetize different ways. This idea that him and his mom are also putting out that you just needed views and it was all for content. Like I have six different accounts. I make like I didn't need this. I
Yeah.
didn't need to do any of this. So it definitely made me feel a type of way. Like unfortunately, I will never do this again in that same way ever. There are things that will, you know, if I do decide to, like with Olga right now, there's going to be things that I have to tailor differently because I don't want to create another spoiled little brat. Honestly, that's what it was, like the entitlement. And then it only just clicked right now that he had already been here for years. So all of this wasn't actually new to him. There was no need for me to take him to the DMV and spend an entire day going back and forth with him. There's no need for me to take him to the bank. Like he wasn't gonna, I didn't know. I really was treating him like this is somebody that has spent their entire life in the US. And, I know he did mention the prior deportation in my first live, but I guess I didn't really connect the dots, and he accepted all the help. Like if he would have just told me, like, I know how to.
I've done it. Yeah.
Like, I
No, he
don't
took advantage. He took advantage. And
need to the bank. I don't need like I don't understand why he didn't speak up and be like, I really don't need all this. Right. So I'm just pouring in, and he's just taking it without the need. And that is where I'm frustrated because I'm like, you really didn't need all that shit for me to do. And granted, he didn't ask me to do it. I need to give credit there to that. I sought him out. I offered my help. But why did you accept it if you really didn't need it? You could maneuver your way around. You could get your own shit. And he wasted so much of my time. So much of my time.
yeah, he took advantage. And, I think once you start making some kind of money, I mean, why would he not, I guess, that's what he was doing. And I'm sure Victor was encouraging it because Victor was getting the same kind of views and, attention.
Yeah, Victor built a little platform himself too that I'm like, well, that makes sense, but he's definitely riding the poor deportation train too. He don't even belong on it. He's just, he is not deported. I'm not saying he doesn't have like a system impact, but the way that they concocted this entire thing, I have to call it for what it is. It feels like an entire scam.
That's what it just seemed like to me. And like I said, I wanted to reach out to you in the beginning, but I knew you were coming from a good place of trying to help somebody. And I just really felt like right away you would have been like, hey, your baby mama's reaching out to me. And then like whatever story he would have given you, you'd been like, okay, she's just a bitter baby mama. So I just kept my mouth shut, but it all came out anyways.
Yeah. I don't think I would have. I mean, from the very beginning, he fed me the, I've been, she's done this. And my first red flag was when he called you out of your name. And just because of that, if you had reached out to me, I would have listened. And just because I have a baby daddy very similar to him, So there were things that I saw, but I wasn't involved with him like that. Like I really was just helping. So his personal life, I wasn't going to dig into like, so are you or are you not? Like those are things you do if like you're interested in somebody or you're trying to date them. Like I really didn't care because that's not what I'm here for. I'm just here to get you on your feet. And my focus was always content and helping him build. I spent hours like, hey, we're going to do this and you're going to do this. It was really just, I managed him for the full month, and that was where my mind was at. I didn't give a lot of attention to the personal stuff because I didn't really care like that. The things that I did clarify about the child support, because that was important to me. Like this is, just make sure. And I literally said, you're going to pay, because at the time, as when I was telling him, I was probably pretty hard on him. Like, you're going to do this. I was pressuring him to create content, to get out there, to get him out of his room. I pressured him to come to TV. I was giving him the push in my idea to help him with his mental health, to get him around friends, to get him around people. And I said to him, you're going to pay $50, even if that's all you have, and God will bless you. Verbatim, that's what my text said, right? Mm-hmm. And so we had these conversations because that was something that was important to me, especially when I began to see that he was making really good money. Probably more money than I was ever making on lives and shit. Like there was one time where we battled, and it was, there was a lot of traffic on this because people wanted to see us together and this and that. And, I played along for the sake of the views and yeah, let's do this, whatever. And he told me, he goes, I just made $800 off that live. And I didn't ask him. And I was like, damn, that's really crazy. Like there's a lot of money in live streaming, this and that. So me knowing that, and, for those of us that have been watching his content, he gets an incredible amount of support from his viewers, gifts, all that, donations. So all that, and you couldn't make sure that your daughter was good in the process. I don't care if it was 1 month, and maybe I'm being harsh. I am biased. Maybe I'm expecting too much for him to be a stand-up guy, but that's because that's what we were sold. That this is a stand-up guy that pays his child support, that's been doing this, that did everything by the book. So I just don't think I'm wrong have expected him to keep doing things the way that he sold it. So when it came out, and I thought to myself, like, maybe I'm doing too much, maybe I overreacted, but that interaction I had with him about the child support payment just left me with a sour taste in my mouth. Like, he's had it. Not only has he had it, but he's known how to pay it. And he told me, I don't know where to send it to. And that was when I was like, you lost me there. Because I can't stand behind somebody that doesn't prioritize their kids. It's too personal to me. And then the other part of this was, I'm a mother. I'm taking time for my own kids to hand walk you through all of this. I'm taking time for my own life, my productivity, my content, to just pour into you to get you on your feet. And in the end, all the stuff behind it, just, I don't know. It's disappointing.
Well, what was I going to say about that? I think because I didn't ask for child support or come after him the first time he was deported, he probably thought, all right, that's the last thing I have to worry about. She knows I'm back here, so I'm off the hook when it comes to that. And he kind of is. Like I said, I'm not going to do anything legally. If he wants to, he can. He still owes money. There's a balance that shows for back pay. And, and another thing somebody told me that he said in his live was like, when I filed my taxes, I gave her this big payment. No, you didn't give it to me. The government took it from you because you owe back child support. So don't act like it was a gift from you out of your generosity. It was because you owed back taxes and the government took your refund and gave it to me because I'm owed it.
There's a
But I
big
really do think he's just like, okay, she has no way of getting a hold of me now. So that's one last thing I have to worry about. Even though, like you said, he's getting all this money and support, and it's just selfish. It's crazy to me.
there's a big difference in fathers that willfully pay their child support and then fathers that are garnished. I have the same opinion that if your shit's garnished, you're not paying it. The government takes it from you. They force you to pay it.
Yeah,
Other than that, you don't. And if it was up to you, you wouldn't pay. You would have gone for as long as you can.
exactly. Because right now it's up to him. He has no legal whatever from Mexico to here, and he's choosing not to. So that's on him.
Yeah, there's no way for them to garnish. Well, actually, look, I will say that there are ways to collect, but I'm hopeful. I think he will. I think this will probably keep him in check enough. I think that the internet is probably going to hold him accountable. I don't think you're going to need legal action because it's the right thing to do. And for him to be up here as a public figure, this is not something that the internet's going to let go. Especially because he got a job. He's employed now. He's making content, so everybody knows he's well able to take care of his daughter. And I think this also clears up this narrative that you have kept your daughter from him. And honestly, I would even justify it if you did. If there's drug use involved, you have every right to protect your daughter and shield her from all the, I don't know what was going on there, but I think any mother would agree that if there is drug use, there are justifications with or without a court order that I'm going to protect my baby. And so this idea that for him, and no, like, these are the natural consequences of some of his poor decisions. He could still turn it around. I'm sure, when your daughter grows up, naturally there will be some type of curiosity to maybe reach out to him. And like, he has the ability to build something good. So when that time comes, he has something good to present to her,
Yeah. Yeah. I think some people are sick of hearing about him, looking at some of these comments. And honestly, I'm sure you're sick of it, and I'm sick of it. I was totally nervous to come on here, and I still am because I feel like I know you said I'll probably get a lot of nice comments, but there's people that are going to support him and still say bad things, or they're going to try to find my daughter and expose her. And so I was really nervous to come on here and do this, but at least my side is cleared up. I really don't know what the hell Victor's problem is with me, but if he wants to talk to me, he knows how to get a hold of me too. And I'm not coming after his child support. I don't depend on it. I'm not jealous of whatever. I don't know anything about TikTok, y'all. I really don't. I have it because my kids are on it, so I have to keep an eye on them, see what they're posting, what they're doing, who they're interacting with. But, I didn't know he was getting paid money. I don't know what these gifts are. I don't know. You said y'all battled. I don't know any of that. I don't know any of that, but I know somehow he's getting paid for all of it. And I just think it's just pretty selfish and crazy to tell this fake pity story and then take it's to me it's a scam. It's a scam. It's crazy to do that to people and make them think you're something you're not and take their money.
And the majority of them are mothers, which is what really the majority of my platform is mothers, whether single mothers or family moms, but the majority of people supporting him are women. And so that bears a big difference on, for me, it was enough. I'm a girl's girl. I'm not going to, I don't care how cool the homies we were. And I don't care about the, platform, what they're going to think. Like, I have to stay true to me. And I think I have a lot of girls that are following suit. And the goal is never for him to lose support. I hope he does well. I hope he uses this as an opportunity to switch things around and use his platform for something good. But it's also he needed to be humbled because honestly, from something good. But it's also he needed to be humbled because honestly, from something good. But it's also he needed to be humbled because honestly, from something good. But it's also he needed to be humbled because honestly, from something good.
Something's going on.
But it's also he needed to be humbled because honestly, from something good.
Something's going on. Yeah, it keeps like repeating. Yeah, it keeps like repeating.
This is a great point to wrap up. Are we back? No. Should we wrap up? This is a great point to wrap up.
Oh, there it goes.
Are we back? No.
Maybe.
Should we wrap up? This is a great point to wrap up.
Oh, there it goes.
Are we back? No.
Maybe.
Should we wrap up? This is a great point to wrap up.
Oh, there it goes.
Are we back? No. Hold on. Let me switch over to my different phone.
There it goes.
Hold on. Let me switch.
Okay.
Am I back?
Yeah, it's working. That was weird.
Yeah, that was super weird. I think my phone overheated.
Somebody has been asking if he has ever been in California or lived in California. Not that I know of. Not that I know of. I don't know why they're asking that, but that's gone by a few times. I don't think he's been in California. And also, one thing that was bothering the crap out of me, everybody's like, how did you end up with him? Blah, blah, blah. Which was really nice of people to be like, oh, you're too pretty, blah, blah, blah. But I was 15 years old, okay? I was 15. That was my teenage years and I stayed with him, obviously. We didn't have my daughter until I was 21, but it was teenage love, okay, guys? That's the only reason why. There's definitely not my type now.
I think all of us have that with, our first love.
We went back.
We don't claim that. We're just related to the same child.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Not trying to be a bitch, but it's just, that was a long time ago. That was the old me.
I had a couple of those. Don't feel bad.
So embarrassing.
Do you have any other comments over there that stuck out to you or questions you want to answer before we wrap up? Don't want to take up too much more of your time.
No, like I said, I'm trying to figure out this whole TikTok thing. I appreciate you using your platform to let me talk. I appreciate all your followers coming to follow me. I'm probably going to be the most boring person you guys follow because I really don't know what to do now from this point with all these followers. But I'm going to try to figure it out. I'm going to try to, share some stories, use it for good. Like you said, I followed Olga and we'll go from there. I'll try to figure this out a little bit more. If there's stuff that people want to know, I mean, they can message me. We can do another live another time, but I really don't want to keep talking about it. I feel like I've said enough. I don't want to bash him. At this point, I just wanted to get the real story out there. Wanted to get my side out there. I didn't like hearing, that I was using my daughter against him. So I just wanted to clear that up, and I would rather just move on, and I hope he does well also. I hope he gets comfortable there. I hope he figures his life out there. And if, if my daughter ever wants him in her life, then we go from there. But I'm not going to force it on her, and I'm not going to let him force it on her either.
Yeah, I think this is a perfect way to kind of wrap things up and for everybody. I don't see Miguel coming out, and I don't think it's necessary anymore. He had his chance to kind of clear things up, and he chose what he chose. And I think this also fills in the gaps for a lot of us as viewers, as people that were invested in his story. And I think we're all really appreciative that you took the time to put yourself out here and take the risk of opening up. And we know these are very personal things about your daughter. And, so that is a big thing on your part. And I think for all of us that watch this live, I think we can all feel the genuine vibes behind it. I don't feel any animosity or like, oh, fuck him, like none of it.
Maybe 2017 me, but not now. That was a whole different person too, but not now. I mean, and like I said, I never was happy that he got deported. I'm a good person. I'm not hoping for anybody's downfall or I don't feel like I have any enemies, or I keep quiet. I live my simple little life in my small town, and I raise my kids, and that's it. And that's how I want to keep it. So,
yeah. Well, I think you'll have a lot of, besties with support.
Yes.
And I think all of us are also ready to leave it here. I think we're all exhausted from the last couple of days as viewers, as a content creator.
Yes.
And this does also kind of make me feel better, to be honest, after everything, just to kind of fill in the gaps and know. And also, it helps me to kind of be empathetic towards him and understand why he is the way that he is and why he did what he did. I don't think it has entirely much to do with me. I think those are just his demons, right? That he needs to work through, him and his family.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Exactly.
we thank you for taking your time. And we'll be there to support if you decide to make content. Or I think this was a perfect way for you to get it out without making a video and keeping it there.
Yeah.
It would just like keep the traffic, and it would build your account based on the video about Miguel, right? So I think this was a perfect way for you just to address it once, leave it there. People can do with the information what they want to, support where they want. This was never to discourage people or dissuade them from supporting Miguel. I think he does need it, but I think he needs also some accountability, and for us as viewers to be able to make decisions knowing factual things, So I wish everybody well. I wish him well. I wish you well. I hope this also kind of gave you, I don't know, some kind of relief to get it out. And
Oh yeah, definitely.
and I hope you all feel better. Maybe not Miguel tonight, but I'm sure he'll process on his own. And if he's watching and his friends, like, I feel like this is a good place to leave it. And questions have been answered. I know for me as well. I just kind of want to move on back to regular scheduled programming.
Right. Yeah. On to the next person that actually needs the help. So,
Absolutely. Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us. And we'll catch you on the flip side, maybe in the lives or maybe in your content.
all right. Thank you so much. Good to meet you.
You too. Okay, bye-bye.